Hi again then guys, and welcome to, of course, another specific car review from the latest 1.34 selection of vehicles, and this review is actually one which I had intended to leave for maybe the third or fourth car that we would review, but then I thought I probably shouldn't wait that long, because it's kind of the most important car of the pack. It's one which has been ramped up toward by a number of vehicles spanning 2 entire games, and you could even argue a car which has been built up in name, not just in the real world, but definitely thanks to the Gran Turismo franchise as an entire series. It's always been a great car, I would say second only to the Skyline in terms of being the hero of the whole series, and that is of course the Supra. Now I would argue that bringing back a name as iconic as the Supra is a situation where Toyota is kind of in a lose-lose, because no matter what they did with a car bearing that name, it was gonna fail. They could not make a car that would satisfy all of the fans. That's always the problem with resurrecting such an iconic name. Unless you do the exact same thing that you did before, people are always upset, because that's the nature of fandom. Mitsubishi, for instance, every car was essentially just, as its name suggests, an evolution of the same concept. It never fundamentally changed. Likewise with the Subaru Impreza. Others, though, changed radically, and people didn't necessarily always like it. This is definitely one of those occasions, because unlike the 86, which certainly carries over the spirit of the classic AE86 into a modern, more youth-oriented, drift-happy, low-power, affordable sports car kind of territory, staying very true to the original and pretty much pleasing everyone, the Supra is not the same kind of deal. The Supra was, as I mentioned in my overarching review of this pack, an exotic. It's a Japanese sports car. It's not based on an existing coupe or sedan like the Skyline was. It's more like the RX-7 and the NSX, but especially the Honda, because they are these purpose-built exotics. Full leather interior, the big powerful engine, which Japanese cars would typically not have. All this kind of stuff really gears it to be in the top tier of Japanese production cars. This is not that anymore. And that's kind of what I wanted. I was hoping that the new Supra, if it returned at all, would be that close variation of the FT1 concept, where it could truly take on the new NSX and the new GTR and kind of give us the big trio from Japan again. And of course the RX-7 was always kind of the fourth one thrown in there, but without the same kind of power. Unfortunately, they haven't done that. Now from one point of view, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because going up against the established GTR and the newcomer of the NSX could have meant that sales would be pulled away from the Supra. What they have done, however, is quite clever. They've carved out an entirely new section of that market by making it somewhere between the 86 and something like an LFA, because let's not forget, that has Toyota ties as well, so it would be kind of rivaling itself. At the end of the day, they've made it more of a mid-level Porsche Cayman, TVR Griffith kind of machine. And that's not a bad thing. However, it comes into some issues as far as falling into Gran Turismo's roster specifically when it comes to how to use the car and what to put it up against, because I've seen a lot of people having issues with the way the car handles in particular, that it's very tail happy, very drift happy, very slippery, to the point where you can't really get a proper decent lap time out of it, and a lot of people have been frustrated by that. To those people I would say this: 2 things. 1, it's a sports car, not a race car. Toyota have never claimed that this would beat everything out there. It is a sports car, just like the TVR Griffith, so of course it is designed to be fun, and fun in a sports car more often than not means drifting, being tail happy. TVRs have always done it, Corvettes have always done it, Porsche 911s have always done it. It's been this fundamental part of what makes a good sports car, so that is no surprise and nothing to fundamentally complain about. There is no legitimacy to that complaint at all, as far as I'm concerned. Where it would be an issue is if the car could never be brought under control, even with tuning. That is counteracted by the fact I tuned up this car with like a 5-minute tune setup, and immediately in this footage it brings it under so much more control. It only drifts when I want it to, so those complaints that people have, as far as I'm concerned, they're unfounded, because just tune it properly. The car immediately becomes far more focused, has far more trackability, And I'm not saying that you make it into a Mitsubishi Evo by tuning it, of course not, its fundamental character will not change. But acting like this is some undrivable car just clearly shows that people don't want to like it. And that is, unfortunately, the problem with fandom. Sometimes people want to keep this fond memory of the original, or in the case of the Supra, it wasn't even the original, they just loved the 90s one, to the point where they would probably never like this car no matter what it did, because they want it to be either an exact copy of what they did in the 90s, or just don't do it at all. Toyota have done it. Get over it. So it's your choice whether or not you want to use it. Now for me, I'm not going to use this car a huge amount, but the reasons why are more so because of where it falls in the Gran Turismo market rather than the real world market, because we don't have a Porsche Cayman to put it up against. We don't have the TVR Griffith. So for now, it falls into this slight no man's land, funnily enough, where it's not quite quick enough or not quite powerful enough to take on a super sports car like a GTR or an NSX, or even a full-on supercar like an SLR or an Enzo or a LaFerrari. But at the same time, it's too good to take on the lower level machines. So because it doesn't have any of its modern natural rivals, the only rivalry that really springs to mind is the TVR Tuscan. And that's a much older car, it's also much lighter, but it's about as close as I can think of, currently at least, in the game. And the reason for that is because of the spec. And that is partially due to the fact that it does share that BMW Z4 platform. The Z4 is the same, it's not designed to be a top tier machine, it's middle market. But we don't have the Beamer in the game, so once again it's kind of an issue there. 335 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque are both very healthy, but when it weighs 1520 kilos, which is not far off some supercars like a Lamborghini Gallardo for instance, that becomes an issue. The horsepower per tonne suffers because of it. It's more like higher level hot hatch territory at 220 horsepower per tonne, and the price tag, it's a six-figure car. Now, some people I've seen say, well, who cares? 100 grand is not difficult to earn in Gran Turismo Sport. You can get that kind of money in no time. That's true. That's not the point I'm making, though. The point is, this is more expensive than an R35 GTR. It doesn't stand a chance against one. That's kind of an issue, especially for a Japanese car, because they're typically known for their value. Even the previous Supra was far cheaper, despite being far quicker in a straight line. So, for me, it's a car that I understand the pricing, I understand what Toyota was going for. It just feels like it's an oddity, it's a novelty for now to have it in the game, because it does not have its modern natural rivals, and at the same time as feeling out of place, it also has a ton of negative fandom being drawn on it, because no matter what Toyota did, a certain vocal amount of people were never going to be happy with the car. And I think that's a shame. And of course, a relatively easy way to counteract that is by not calling it the Supra. Let's be honest, Toyota could have kind of gone with the name Celica for this car. It would have been an interesting way of bringing back that kind of jump between the 86 and the Celica, which was always the next level up in the coupe range. Why not call it the Celica instead? I think a ton of people would have loved it if this was the new Celica instead of a new Supra. They didn't do that though, so once again, it's an interesting discussion to have, but not a particularly relevant one because they called it the Supra. That's the end of it. So ultimately, it's a car which in racing form is pretty cool, but for now, it's more of a novelty. So if you're going to buy this, don't even expect it to feel anything like the other Supra. It's a totally new experience, and if you are a fan of something like the TVR Tuscan, then chances are I think you'll like this one too. If you're not into that kind of tail-happy 300 to 400 horsepower sports car territory, then you probably won't. In terms of lap times, I have no doubt that there are plenty of things that can beat it, Porsches for instance, but at the end of the day, this is not a track car. It's a street sports car with track inclinations, and those are two very different things. It's not claiming to be a noble after all. So overall, that's it for my thoughts. Probably a pretty controversial episode because my thoughts are even mixed. I wanted them to go full-on super sports car with the FT1 in effect, but even then, they didn't, so who cares? But that's it for this installment. Of course, I will cover tuning for it in the coming days on the channel, and for now, as always, thanks for watching.